All right. Happy October, everyone. And so I'm talking about speed drying wood. Speed drying wood, and the reason I have my mighty Chevy back there is because that is my solar kiln. Parked in the sun, it will heat up even on a cool day. It's not probably about 60 degrees right now. However, parking it in the sun, the interior will get pretty hot. And I use the car for a solar kiln. Now, will I kiln dry a sinew-back bow? Well, I could either hang this above a wood stove on a series of racks, which I have access to, or else bake it in my car, only after I am confident that all the moisture, or most of the moisture, is gone out of here. Because if I was to heat this up beyond 100 degrees, or just leave it in the sun, then the hide glue that has not dried out sufficiently will re-liquefy, and it'll cause separations in here. Maybe not structural damage, but it will do weird things when it re-liquefies and is pressurized by the system, because it's squishing down on it. So I am not going to force any drying on this other than just drying in the air for a while, until I am confident that there's no chance of re-liquefying any hide glue in here. And so that will probably take several weeks. This bow has only been sinew-backed within a week, I believe. So no, I shan't speed dry this thing. I'll just leave it out in the air for a week or two more, longer than I think. And then I can go about hanging it above a wood stove on a rack, or drying it in this kiln right there. So this will not be speed dried at this point. I'm going to be very careful with that because I have a huge investment in sinew. I believe I have 12 or 14 leg tendons on that bow. A lot of time spent. A lot of time spent working that Osage orange down. So I am going to be careful with this one. These two, I made this yesterday. It was soaking in the creek. Cold storage. You know, I'm a big fan of just soaking your staves in the water until you're going to work them, because wood works really easily, and over soaking them, you know, in that case, and that's causing any drying, that excess water will disappear really quickly. So that is of no consequence other than making it easier to work. Creek soaking wood. My staves, still rounds, and the other side of this that I split will not split. They will not be damaged by insects. They're just happily soaking in water, taking a bath. They like it. This was that debo I made. It was roughly tillered. It had a good bend, barely through the handle, and then more through middle limb, and then even going through the tips, relatively even. So I decided that I may as well put the bend in it, and then after it dries, then I will steam or dry heat the bends into the limbs to deflex them. This is the bend I'm concerned about. These bends in the limbs are not that particular as far as forcing a bend into them. It's easy to get the radius into these things, so I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to worry about shaping these until it is dry. This is the bend I'm concerned with. I used a form. I steamed it. It was green. When I steamed it into that, you can see, hopefully, there are no issues with separation or lifting of the grain on the outside of that bend. Did a good job. I steam wood that is this thick, more than a half an inch, 22 minutes or so. I'll have it in the clamp. You don't have to. I'll have it clamped in the form. Let it steam for 10 or 11 or 12 minutes, and then I'll start tightening it down gradually. So at the end of the 22 minutes, then I cinch it all the way down. Then I put it over the sink, and I pour the remaining hot water over it, just to continue convincing it to bend, and then I dry it. Now, this is definitely a do as I say, not as I do, but I rush things as far as speed drying. I may have said don't kiln dry wood in the car until, you know, you've waited a week or so for it to dry out. in reality, in the world of John reality, I shaped this green yesterday, steamed it. I'm going to pop it into the kiln. I'm not worried about it twisting or warping because it dries too fast, because it's thinned down to a finished bow, so it's relatively stable. Plus I have it in a form, and plus I'm going to shape the tips again. So if any warpage happens because I'm drying it really fast in the car, it'll be taken out when I shape it, so whatever. If it's a longer bow, a long bow, not in the form, and you're concerned with warping or twisting, all of which can be taken out by steaming, but you might not want to bother with that stuff, then don't speed dry it in your car kiln right away. Wait a week or two. You know, you can be conservative. Now, as far as, what was I going to say? Well, I have this one too. It has a more subtle bend, maybe more of an actual bend of the original bows. I'm going to car kiln this one too. Maybe I'll remember what I was going to say. Hey Keith, by the way, Osage and Black Locust bows are next on deck, so don't worry, I'm going to get to those. Glue. A lot of people use Knox gelatin. That's fine, it works for them. I believe it's so easy to get this powdered stuff, and I can just store it in a freezer up to many years and still use it, so I use the hide glue. A little known fact that you're not going to hear anywhere else probably is you can actually put food coloring in your sinew to kind of pre-dye it. If you want to have blue sinew, put blue food coloring. If you want green backing, put green food coloring. Red food coloring. So you can dye your glue with just plain old food coloring to get a colored backing without painting. You could also use natural dyes. You could use spiderwort for purple or onion for yellow or whatever you want to use. You can dye your glue. The mixture. It's rare to find a person that says this is how you mix it. Well, I have my glue pot, and it's never empty because I'm always sinew backing. I've probably sinew backed, I don't know, I'll just say conservatively way over 100 bows. If you're starting out, or you have your continuous one, you have certain empty space. There's a certain empty space, you know, from the bottom to the top. It's an empty jar. In this case, it's empty from here. So I shall take this, I'm probably ducking out of the thing, out of the scene, out of the camera view. I take my powder head glue, and I'm going to fill this about halfway. So I've got that. It's about halfway, filling that space. And then I shall top it off with cool water. Will I heat it right away? No. I'm going to take this that has the powdered hide glue and the cool water, and I'm just going to let it sit. I'm going to let it sit till it swells up and that hide glue goes kind of over, which when it's heated it'll shrink down. I'll just wait for this to absorb the water before I heat it. I'm not going to rush this process because I don't want to have grit in the bow. You can certainly melt it in this early stage, but I always just put cool water in it and just let it sit. Let me top this off. Now the amount of sinew. This is a great gob of sinew that was reclaimed from a bow that wasn't much bigger than this, but it was a 3-layer job. On this one, I'm going to show you close up. Hopefully you can see it with this horrible lighting. Rasp marks, tool marks, all over it on the belly. Could scrape them off, but you know what? I'm going to think of this as a primordial bow, made with rough tools. I am not going to remove the tool marks from this. I'm going to leave the tool marks so you can see the handiwork in it. And I've got this much sinew, and this much sinew is going to be used for both these bows. I'm thinking I'm in a time long past, and so I'm going to think of economy of materials. You can't just run out and get 4 deer, 5 deer, or elk or whatever, and use all those leg tendons. I would use the back strap, the longer ones, for bowstrings and stitching. So I'd use the leg tendons on the bows. I would, at this point with these bows, quickie bows, made from green ash, yeah, green white ash, I'm going to use a less amount, thinking that if I didn't hunt and find, at least I can find a dead deer laying on the ground or something and scavenge the tendons. So I'm going to think of it in terms of 2 deer worth of leg tendons on each of these bows. And that's enough. It's not going to be power layer, but it will be a good layer in combination with this. Roughly 4 tendons on each bow. So I've got this. Now you're wondering where to buy this, the powdered stuff. Think of violins, cellos, violas. You can buy this from an instrument shop because this is what people use to glue fine instruments together. You can buy this at Shar Music, or you can buy it at Pine Hollow Longbows or anywhere. Now my comment is, I watch other videos on YouTube. I'm not going to even get into like the certain idiosyncrasies of what's happening with professional football. I'm not even going to go there. It is what it is. However, I watched an amazing video by Red Dragon. I don't think it's spelled out R-E-D Dragon, but find that. And it was a thought video regarding what would the natives in North America have thought about Asiatic style Hun bows. Also, they were used in Europe. The Asiatic horn bows. I just misspoke because Huns weren't in Asia, they were in, I believe, Yugoslavia. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just saying that they were used in Europe too. Well, it's an interesting thought. You know, the bows that the North American natives used, they worked. They served their purpose brilliantly. They were great horsemen, warriors, the bow makers. They probably would have, if they had access to a Turkish horn bow, would have thought, wow, that's a really cool bow. Would it be necessary to surpass their technology to go that route? Well, no, because what they had worked until the advent of firearms. And then in any case, the Turkish horn bows and the native horn bows, North American native horn bows, would have been overcome by repeating firearms. So, you know, that's academic. There's also that issue of migratory people. They can't set up factories because the, let's just say, Asiatic horn bows, Turkish horn bows, etc., were made in factories with large runs, made step by step over a period of probably a year, because they would let their sinew cure, first layer, and then add another one, and at each step you'd gain more reflex. So just the improbability that like a bow factory that could churn out 5,000 bows in a run and take the time to produce these bows just wouldn't have worked for a migratory tribe, and it was unnecessary. Just my final thought. I've been stalling because I've been trying to remember what I was going to mention other than this. I shall say that I could have kept this as a D bow, but I like the shape. If I was to take this bow and kept it as a D bow, and then taken this bow and made a self-gulling bow, because you can make self-gulling bows. There's no issue if you maintain the right thickness on the handle and contrasted with the thinness of the limbs and the bend and everything. You can maintain this reflex in the handle, so that's not an issue. So if I was able to create two of this exact same thing, I had a self D bow, which is just shaped like a D, and a self-gulling bow. The chance of the self-gulling bow to survive use is greater because of that. I engineering-wise really can't wrap my mind around it, so I don't know. But having the deflex already in the limbs seems to work not only to make a cool shape, but it also serves to protect that bow from breakage. There's something that happens when you deflex it, whether or not it's straight through here and deflexed a little bit, or bending the handle back, I'm just going to say that, and deflexing the limbs. Something happens with the geometry to make that bow more able to survive use without breaking. And so I took my D-bow. I don't want to make a D-bow. I love D-bows. If you want to make D-bows, more power to you. Personally, it's not my thing. It's not my bag of tricks. It's not my priority. And so I took my D-bow, and instead of finishing it, I bent it on my form, and I'm going to turn it into a gull-wing bow. I could leave it as a self-gull-wing, but I'm going to sinew back it because I appreciate actually the ease of sinew backing if you're not worried about getting like this flawless, perfect finish. If you're just concerned with making one that works, so easy. It's so easy. This is easy too. I just remembered what I was going to talk about. And all you need is a pot of water. If you have a turkey fryer, you know, propane turkey fryer, do that outside so you're not bugging your wife by steaming up the house. It works the same way. I could recurve the tips, but I'm not going to because I don't see the point in it. When I make a bow, I want to have a point in it. And recurving the tips would just add stress to this system and be relatively unnecessary. It's a style thing in many ways. I had a question from Ryan. Hey Ryan, in the Philippines, and he saw a video made. I wish I knew who posted it, but it's about a native person making a native West Coast paddle bow. And he used fish bladder glue, but he chewed it and then spit it into a cup to make the glue. And the question was, would that work? Would it be better than simmering the fish bladders for hours and hours? Well, I asked myself, how much chewing would you have to do to create that glue? So you're probably not saving any time. I've never done that, but hopefully somebody will, and do it and explain how long it takes. Because in the video they just showed him doing it without any explanation of time. The other question I might have is, if he had the easy ability like we do, just a stove top in a pot, to simmer them into a glue, would he have chosen to simmer them over chewing? And in that case, I'm just guessing here, my apologies to fish bladder glue makers that chew, is that I believe that he probably would have simmered it. It was a matter of the materials and what he had at hand to produce the glue. I do believe in some weird way, and I see this with sinew when I'm making the arrows, and I'm hafting them, putting a point on, or else fletching them, is I'm a sinew chewer. And it could be that there are amino acids or something in our spit that helps activate the glue better or reacts to it. Maybe there's protein chains floating around in their mouth. I don't know. But chewing and using your saliva seems to do something to the glue within the sinew itself. So it's entirely possible that there's an advantage to chewing it. I don't know. These are all questions that somebody could answer by just doing it. Experimental archaeology. Now with that, I shall. You'll see it in real time. There we go. I'm just going to chase the sunlight with my car. My bows are now in the kiln. This one is to the point where it can just be in the sun, but not superheated. I do believe that it's about time for me to get everything organized to open up for the day, for my first day of October traffic. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your viewership. As a side note, I shall say that I'm never going to get like the number of views on any of my videos because I ramble so much and I'm just talking and my production method is not very high. But that's okay. I appreciate my loyal viewers. Got enough? If I only get 100 views on a video, I'm happy because that's 100 people that are interested enough in what I'm saying to make bows. I don't need to feed my ego and look for 500,000 views. 100 works. It's 100 people. 100 good people. Now I shall say, happy October, have a great day, and thank you for watching.